Everything is awesome. Everything
Rob
is awesome.
is fine.
Everything is awesome.
Just, yeah, part of a whatever dream or
fine.
game or whatever the damn song goes. I don't want to say it because we can't pay the royalties, okay? So I can't actually quote the whole damn song. All right, sorry. It's just like TLC. We can always just say, hey, it's things like waterfalls, and that's all we can say because otherwise.
No, you can talk about it if it's part of an analysis.
Well, don't go breaking waterfalls, okay? Just listen to
Don't go breaking waterfalls.
Wait. I don't ever. Wait, breaking my waterfalls. Wait a second. What? Say that again. Do you even know TLC waterfalls? Can you tell me anything about it?
Yeah, I mean the video. First of all, the aspect ratio of that video, they stretched those people out, and it was atrocious. It was horrible. It was Paul. They Paul
cutting edge back in the day.
Trailer. No, it was horrible.
Like
they stretched. It was it was horrible.
Wow, can you
don't go chasing the waterfalls, okay?
Yes.
Just
do you know?
Definitely don't go breaking.
Do you know the part of? Do you know the hook of that song? Can you tell me what the hook of that song is? Can you?
Welcome everybody to the Heroes World podcast.
Where should you stick, Rob?
We are talking Invincible.
Oh, wow, everything just fell apart. Rob just took over.
Yes.
He decided to take over hosting.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction, Rob. So yes, as Rob said, welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast. We are here where Rob has failed dramatically to give us line 2 of TLC's classic song, Waterfalls. He knows nothing, clearly. All the bravado about knowing stuff, he knows nothing. And the first song, he talks about, oh, I don't want to get copyright. Doesn't know the second part of that song either. So clearly his knowledge is not in the music world. Because do you know the second part of the song outside of Waterfalls that you quoted? Because
just listen to the rivers and the streams.
What about everything is awesome? Do you know the next part
that you're used to?
You know everything is awesome. What's the next part?
Everything is cool when you're part of a team. And okay.
Oh, there you go. Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We're supposed to be a team here. All right.
Redemption.
He has the spirit of the song. That's basically the spirit of the song.
Oh, thank you for solving that. Okay. All right, so we have a special guest star today, part of our combination of Casey and JoJo. This is what's going on, baby. This is the combination of the two powers that be coming together. We have special guest star Chris Ho here today to join us with John Ho. So there we go, brothers in arms, and we're gonna quiz them later on Casey and JoJo's song. John, you know the lyrics to Casey and JoJo. What's the song? What's their song?
Life. All my life.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today as we are doing our review and thoughts on the first episode of Invincible, and then we'll be talking about episode 2 and 3. We're going to talk about the first part first to give you an idea of whether you should continue watching. And for those who have continued to watch, we're going to go straight into episode 2 and 3. I am your host, Dupe. I'm here, as I've already introduced, with John and Chris. And, of course, finally, with the Prince of Mischief, Mr. Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls himself.
Don't go breaking waterfalls, dude. Get it right.
Don't go breaking waterfalls. Yes,
Don't go breaking my waterfalls.
Don't do it.
Don't go breaking waterfalls.
That is nature's wonder. Don't break waterfalls.
Don't go breaking waterfalls.
That's right. Don't do it.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Ross Godet. There we go. Okay, so
people are gonna be very confused by why you're calling me that. It's 3 weeks in, and people are like, "What? What is happening?"
They wouldn't like Rob when he's angry.
Look
up Red Hulk. Look up Red
Hulk. Yes.
It is.
Yeah,
it's a bit that keeps on giving. It's deep cuts for those old Easter eggs for those who continue to watch the pod. This is pretty much out there.
Admittedly, I actually forgot why you guys call it that. I was like, is this like a Friends reference? I completely forgot about the Red Hulk. But all right, whatever.
It's definitely not a Friends reference.
No, not at all.
If you got the weird spray tan, then yes, it would be the Friends reference.
Or leather pants.
Okay, well, I might be guilty.
What we don't know is Rob did have leather pants at one point, and we'll have to bring in his wife one day to talk about that. Okay, here we go. The awkward. Okay, so Invincible, based on Robert Kirkman's cartoon show, of course, is based on the comic book that is complete now. It stars Stephen Young, Sandra Oh, and J.K. Simmons. It follows a superhero, but I'm going to let John start us again with give us an unhelpful summary of the show without any positive or negative adjectives. John, what do you got for us for episode 1? What do you got?
Yeah, so Stu just got me there because I'm totally not prepared for this. But so
you did so well last
stars...
time, John. I'm gonna throw it back to you.
Yeah, I prepped. Good. I just didn't write it all down.
You don't have to write it.
The other thing.
Go from your heart. Go from your heart.
Follows the Grayson family, whose main superhero is a Superman-like character, Omni-Man, who runs around saving the world. And this story, we are following his son, Mark Grayson, who is at the age where he just develops his superpowers and is going to learn to be a superhero by possibly joining teams or getting taught by his father, among other things like playing catch and all that kind of stuff. And it's set in its own superhero world, which you will see a lot of references to Justice League or DC and Marvel type characters. But it's a little bit more serious and darker than your usual Spider-Man. So there is violence. I can't remember if sex is part of it as well, but it's mostly violence.
Not in this episode.
And
eventually,
and
it'll get there.
Yeah.
It'll get there. But yeah.
Don't worry, John. You'll get your animated sex stuff. Okay, just calm down.
Don't worry. Okay.
All right.
It exists already, Rob. Don't worry. It's a whole nother genre.
not since heavy metal have we seen inappropriate things. So there we go. Here we go. So John, I'm gonna give you a moment to get your thoughts together because I'm gonna go to our special guest star first and get his thoughts. Chris,
Yeah, we're not gonna throw him under the bus.
I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm giving him all the leeway in the world because he's first, because I want to get his thoughts and then make John work for it.
Oh.
So Chris, give us your initial thoughts on the first episode. Well, watching it, it's streamed on Amazon Prime, so there you go. And it is different. But yes, what are your thoughts?
And they dropped 3 episodes in one shot.
They did,
but we're gonna keep it confined to the first episode.
Yep. Just talk about episode 1.
Is he doing spoilers? You might want to tell him that.
Yes.
I was getting to that, John. I'm getting to that. Yes, okay. Full spoilers, full everything. Starting now.
Taking care of his brother. He's like, "Come on, little buddy, I got you."
Before he kicks him in the gut and then says, right. Now we're gonna ask you to name all the voice actors in the show, or your turtle dies. And he'd be like, "Oh gosh." And John's gonna quiz. He's like, "Who does Lauren Cohen play in the show?" And Chris is like, I don't know. We're gonna quiz you on all the Walking Dead actors that are in the show. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I thought it started kind of by the numbers, I would say.
Yep.
Very kind of classic show of this nature. Father-son relationship. Father's a superhero. Son's struggling with that kind of living in his shadow. So how Michael Jordan's son must have felt. But essentially, it starts off that way, and then I don't know if we want to talk about I guess I would call it post-credits kind of thing. It takes like this hard left turn after you think this episode's over, and he becomes this superhero. He gets the costume, and then it's this hard right turn into like this hyper violent, and then you're thinking, oh wait, this is Kirkman, right? Like this is how he thinks. He wants to kind of twist or subvert your expectations in that way, and I thought that was a great twist at the end. I did read the comic way back when it came out. I completely forgot about kind of everything other than like the main title character and his dad and things like that. But it did catch me off guard, that whole sequence at the end. I didn't know, and it was a bit early. I thought.
Go into it. The Guardians of the Globe are the main superhero team of this world.
Yeah, they set them up.
They set up in the first episode as in like, because the first shot of this thing is like they show up and then they're fighting off these 2 like Hulk guys, clones, and the Guardians of the Globe are basically just a copy of the Justice League. Every single one of them is based on a character in the Justice League, and they all get owned. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, they set these guys up as like, oh, this is going to be like the overarching kind of heroes of the movie, like maybe mentor type characters, and then they get called into like their headquarters, and then they're brutally murdered, like brutally murdered, completely. Like I don't even think there was blood in the episode before that moment, even when the guy was getting beat up and stuff, or Invincible was getting beat up. But like it was brutal, like Mortal Kombat fatality. Like these characters that you're kind of associating with ones you love from Justice League are getting like brutally murdered. I keep saying brutally, but like it's very hyper violent, very Kirkman style.
And to your point, they line it up where before they're getting up, that shows you a sneak peek of their lives and what they're doing in their spare time, and like the people that love them and stuff. You're like lining it up, and you're like, oh, this can't be good. It's like, you know,
like this.
Yeah,
Not
just
like
like
this.
hanging out, and you're like, oh no, this can't be
by
good.
by that moment, just because I'm slightly familiar with the comic, I knew, okay, they're gonna do it now. They're gonna get them. They're gonna twist it now. They're gonna have them murdered basically by Omni-Man, which is a huge twist.
Yeah, and this is quite a big change from the comic, because it waits way later in the comic before Omni-Man. The twist is that he is the bad guy. So it's like, you know, he's setting up his son to this father-son relationship, and at the end, he just murders everyone. So it is quite a big twist. What did you think of the, like? There's a lot of thoughts on the voice actors in this. What did you think of Stephen Young and J.K. Simmons and Sandra Oh as the three voice actors, at least in the first episode, Chris?
Yeah, a lot of heavy hitters. We can go through all the surprise cameos later.
Yeah.
But J.K. Simmons always great. I think he's done a lot of voice acting too. Steve Yuen, it did seem like, I don't know if he's done a lot of voices and cartoons and things like that. He seemed a little.
He was in Troll Hunters that I remember.
Okay, he seemed
a
little.
Like he's just doing himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little bland in the role. But Sandra Oh, Canadian by the way, is great. He was wearing a Canadian shirt in one of the scenes. Canada? I think it was. Is that a?
They do it from the animation out in Vancouver.
Okay,
so that's
why. Okay.
And Sandra Oh,
Sandra Oh is a Canadian icon.
Ottawa,
so
yes.
Yeah,
so you know, they figured maybe she's from Canada in this TV show, anyways, like the mom. So
I would say, Sandra Oh good, J.K. Simmons good. Steve Yuen, you could tell, was kind of like his first foray into something like this. He was a little, I wouldn't say bland, I guess, in his delivery and some of the things, but overall, I'm cool. Overall, it was good. I thought it was good.
But I think that's part of the character being like unsure of it, and I think as they develop, he'll be less stiff as he goes forward and figures things out.
Okay. I liked him, but I didn't watch Walking Dead, so I actually don't know what his voice sounds like. I don't know.
It's the same
because you know him from Walking Dead.
It's fine.
But yeah, that's why
There's no
I
difference.
don't know him from Walking Dead,
It's
so I
like,
thought he was pretty good.
It's like Anthony Mackie. Anthony Mackie doesn't change his voice and talking with
Yeah.
It's pretty much
if Anthony
Mackie
Mackie came and voiced a character, it would be like that. But I don't.
Like Sean
I'm
Connery.
actually not familiar with his live action at all.
Yeah. When he plays a Russian submarine
He's still
captain.
Scottish.
Yeah, he's still, you know,
Right.
it's the thing. John, what are your thoughts on the first episode of Invincible?
Yeah, so like in our chat, Stu was like, yeah, what an episode. And in the first episode, like Chris said, it's kind of very by the numbers superhero origin, and then they get you with that twist at the end. So the first episode I actually feel was not as strong. It didn't actually hook me until like maybe partway through the second episode. So I'll leave talking about the later episodes through that. But I like it's basically like North American anime. Like the animation quality has definitely leveled up here. And when we see the other team, the team fight with the duplicate girl, or is that not till the second episode?
Second episode.
Okay, so I'll talk about that later. But when the Guardians of the Globe are fighting, you see the kind of choreography that was very similar to Justice League Unlimited, and that older animated style that they were doing, where they went really heavy into like choreographed fights with, it looked like a lot of thought put in. So I'm very impressed by that. And then the voice acting, like I said, I was fine with Steve Yuen because I'm not familiar with his live action work. I actually felt J.K. Simmons was a bit over the top, and I felt like he needed to turn the dial down just a little bit, because I could tell way too much that it was him. So I don't know if he needed to alter his tone, but it was a voice that kind of suited what the Omni-Man character, I guess, should be. So overall, if it was the first episode, I might have dipped. So I kind of get caught later on in the episodes. So if you're watching the first episode and you're kind of like, I'm not quite there, then I think you are going to have to check out the other episodes.
I think to Chris's point, why I thought the episode was just what an episode was, because it was, to both your points, very by the book. Like 80% of the show, you're like, oh, I've seen this before, and everything else. And then when the credits rolled, you're like, okay, that's the nice fun episode. And then it as Chris mentioned, it subverts your expectations.
Yeah. If you go with the twist, yeah. And I haven't read the book in, I don't know how, I think I read it when it first came out, so I haven't read it in a long time. Yeah. But a lot of the stuff was very familiar to me, so I was a little bit kind of like borderline bored at first. But that's typically with any superhero origin for nerds like us who read super. Like if you tell me a Spider-Man origin, I'm gonna get board as well. So
Yeah.
that's not to knock the
Mhm.
show. So I think, yeah.
Imagine you turned it off. You turned it off when the credit
right before that happens, you're like,
what
I'm good.
What a wholesome show. Turn it off,
And then
I'll
people,
watch the
yeah,
next week.
get
that's
your
why
kids to watch it.
That's why the dialogue keeps on going. They
Kid.
keep on talking, because if they play music, you just stop. So they were just like, oh, and you're like, well, what's that? But to the way that they mentioned it, it was like they set up where the violence and stuff happened. It's like now either you're in or you're out. Like you watched it before, it's like we're setting up kind of the father son, and you're like, oh, this is nice and quaint, and then the way that the relationship of Omni-Man and his wife, and you're like, oh, that's nice, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this is the show. Either you're in or out, and if you're not,
what a nice family.
That gratuitous violence, like it's your time to basically.
Omni-Man's a good guy.
to dip. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on episode 1?
Yeah.
Rob,
So
you were
just
most
like-
anticipated for this.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is Rob's jam.
Well,
he has
yeah.
many
So
traits.
actually, I had picked up. I've got the other compendiums. They released the full thing is in 3 compendiums, or you can get. I think there's 13 hardcovers, John. Right?
Yep. Yeah, we have the hardcovers in stock.
So I read the first compendium last summer.
Jamma.
Yeah, it's a massive thing.
Whoa.
So yeah, so a couple things. One is I agree with John. It reminded me, the animation style reminded me very much of the DC animated movies of late, especially around the maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. So I was happy with the way that the style of animation. It was palatable. The voice casting didn't bother me. I thought it was great. I didn't mind J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man. So it's interesting in that they've taken a lot from the first, say, 10 issues, and they've actually rearranged the order of things happening. Stu mentioned previously that the destruction of the Guardians of the Globe happened much later. Actually, it happens at the end of issue 7, and it's only like 2 pages, right? It's 4 or 5 panels per page, and that's it. In this show, I mean, Kirkman recently did an interview where he said that they allowed us to go full out to like pure violence, and this is what it is. It's a cartoon, but it's not for your kids. It's I wouldn't, it's definitely not for kids, because they don't hold anything back, and I think that that's important for this storyline. I think if you're going to do this story, and if people who are familiar with the overall story, or at least even the first 50 issues, you know that it's a pretty vicious and brutal comic. So I was happy with it. I mean, yeah, I was you start off outside the White House, and I was like, is that John Hamm? And yes, thankfully, if for those who have Amazon, when you're watching it, you can pause it, and the little X-ray thing comes up and tells you all the
nerd.
You are the
Yeah, I did that a lot of times to find out.
Yeah, because I was like,
this person's voice is familiar, and I was like, okay, it must be someone famous. And then I move the mouse a bit, I watch on PC, and then you see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole story, right? I mean, we talked about this. I feel like it was like last summer. I had mentioned this. This is what happens when Superman is, it's a Superman derivative. He is here, and you realize that he's not the hero that we thought. Meanwhile, you have a son who is very much like the Jonathan Kent or the Peter Parker aspect, and he's excited to get these powers. Then he realizes that, holy shit, Superman is actually pure evil. And so they are laying this groundwork and this foundation for this massive reveal. I like that. I know you guys were like, oh, once the title card comes up, I thought that was it. But it's funny when they did it this episode, and then it reaffirmed it. Anytime they mention the name Invincible, this is when the title card comes up, because they came up with like.
I was gonna say that's a wicked gag. I actually find it really funny.
I thought that card.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's pretty hilarious, right? I think the first time was like 41 or 42 minutes in, and I was like, okay, but I was like, there's still quite a bit of time left here, so I thought that was interesting. Overall, I enjoy. The one thing I wanted to mention is that I wasn't, just like John, I wasn't really hooked on this first episode. I did like, though, when Mark starts flying. Like, we've talked about recently music and how music can change the tone or the feel of a movie. Look at Whedon, Snyder, the Whedon Justice League and the Snyder. Like, the different tones of music, the different composition can make or break a movie or a show. And in this case, when you see Mark flying for the first time, and he hasn't got his Invincible costume yet, and you hear that super heroic theme song as he's flying, like, okay, full disclosure, as a kid, you know, if I couldn't sleep at nights, and I'm talking like when I was really young, I would sit there and I would think about, oh, I wish I could fly. And every time in my head I was flying, it was the John Williams Superman theme song, because that's what you knew, right? And in this, it kind of like, it took that without John Williams theme song. And so I could relate to that. I was like, this kid's flying. This guy, he's a teenager. He's flying around. He's got this amazing theme. So I was really happy with that. But I agree. Episode 1 is a bit of a slog to get through. And for me, I actually didn't get really into it until probably about episode 3. So I'm not really sure how else where you want to go from here. But overall, it was okay. If I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it, maybe, to be honest, I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10 that first episode.
Wow, it's interesting. But I think everyone here, it's interesting because all of you have exposure to Invincible. I've never seen it. I never read the comics.
That's why, I think because we're the kind of guys who've read it before.
I didn't read it because, let's be very frank, Invincible's not a property that I knew of and cared about. It's like when it first came out, I was like, oh, it's a cool thing. And then I remember going to the store and Andre was talking to me about the thing, and I'm like, cool, but where's Spider-Man? Where's Green Lantern? Like where are the characters I kind of care about? And the character Invincible is so, like, I don't mind going to a non-IP universe, but I needed the main character to be something unique and different. Like if you're just a generic like thing, it's kind of like what happened with the Avengers video game. You know, it's like, oh, that kind of looks like Captain America, but not Captain America. That kind of looks like who are these bootleg versions of the characters I know? It's like the Invincible always had that kind of like, it's kind of bootleg. It's kind of like, oh, this is like a second-rate costume that, you know, even the Justice League people wouldn't be wearing. So that's kind of was my thing. I never got hooked onto it. And maybe that's my fault for being such a snob, but I like, you know, I'm a Marvel guy first and foremost, and then I go DC, and then there's some like secondary stuff. Like I love the Tick, but the Tick is like, I don't mind the goofiness of ripping off characters in that universe because the Tick is so unique and so stupid that I don't mind that, you know, the characters like Chairface Chippendale, like it's so ridiculous that when they do copy characters from the Marvel universe, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Like it doesn't make sense. Same thing with the Venture Brothers. Like it's so ridiculous that I don't mind. This is kind of always tread that line of like, oh, we're trying to be serious, and this is like their Superman, young Superman. I'm like, well, it's kind of like same thing. I want a Transformer, you gave me a GoBot. I'm like, cool, man. Like I'll go somewhere else. So for me, watching the episode, I was like, I had lots of vibes of like a DC show, and then when that ultra violence, I'm like, whoa, like that is, you know, you see intestines and guts and things popping out of people, and you're like,
yeah, there's a team later that comes in to clean them up, and they're like throwing up. I'm like, that's
like it's intense, and you're like, oh, okay. So I know that they were trying to shove a lot in that first episode, and I think as we go on and discuss episode 2 and 3. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on how far this moves into the trades, because I see the pace of this and I'm like, I remember, you know, like it wasn't until like Rob was saying later in the issues in 7 or 8 when even Andre was trying to pitch me again. It's like, but look what happens here. And I'm like, like that's not really anyone I care about. So let's continue on. It's like, you know, okay. We're going to jump to that momentarily. So your recommendations after watching episode 1, do you recommend people continue on this journey, Chris, to watch more episodes of 2 and 3? Because if you watch episode 1 and it's not your jam, are you recommending that people watch 2 and 3? Because we often hear, and Rob's made this comment before, like, why do I have to slog through 5 episodes to get to the good stuff? You know, I should really be into it after episode 1 because there's so much content available on the internet. If you don't hit me on episode 1, I'm out. So do you believe, you know, although you know a lot about it, episode 1 is enough to get people interested?
I think so.
You recommend it?
Yeah, I think so. It's the hook at the end. That's it. So you're expecting more of that in later episodes, then yeah, you should definitely tune in. I think it gets fun. I think it's funnier in the later episodes too, but I guess you don't know that if you're just watching 1. But yeah. If that twist interests you at the end with the hyperviolence, then yeah, keep going because there's more of that.
Because it ain't gonna get less. That's what you're basically saying. Yeah. So Chris recommends it. John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Despite like not being ultra thrilled, but I think it is because we are familiar with the history, known where this property goes, and known what the storyline has entailed. Yeah, I definitely recommend you watch it. You just might be a little bit bored by this first episode, but yeah, I think it even spoiler alert, because we have seen the 2s and 3s, it does ramp up, so you will be able to determine after 2.5 episodes, I think, if you want to stick around.
Okay, so you're recommending?
Yeah, I would say yeah, you're gonna enjoy it, despite what I said previously about it. That's just for me, you know.
All right, Rob, cleanup. What do you got?
It's a difficult question to answer because they didn't just release one episode; they released 3. So it's hard to say. We're not talking about a series where they've released everything and it's binge watching, or that we've stacked up. They've released all 3. So if you're watching one, you're likely going to be watching the 2 and 3. The question is, do you watch next week episode after, because now we have to wait. So that's one part of the difficult question to answer. The second
we'll get
part
to that
is,
later, but
the second part is it something that, listen, we're all going to watch it because I'm assuming we're all going to watch the rest of it because we all, well, okay, maybe not Stu, but for the people who like are comic people or this and that, you're likely going to watch it. Animation is hard to get the average person to want to commit to. So that's where it's a difficult question to answer. This is not my wife's bag of tea. She would never even start it. My son had no interest in it beforehand, and I wouldn't show him right now. Anyways, can I convince somebody who's never read the comic, who's not a big comic book fan, aside from like the Marvel and DC movies, would they sit down and watch an animated movie? Probably not. I don't think it will hook anybody.
Yeah, would you watch this or The Boys? You know what I mean? Like,
I think people would more be inclined to watch The Boys. I think animation is just very hard to hook people. They did a good job of it, but I think you have to be really have a desire in that world to want to continue. So I would suggest, yes, continue watching those full 3 episodes because they're there. Whether you want to watch after that or not, that's up to you. But with the caveat that if you're not an animation person, it's just, you might just watch something else. There's lots of other things to go on. So it's not me condemning Invincible. I just don't think it's for the average person.
Okay. So your answer is yes or no?
My answer is yes with a asterisk. Like Mark McGuire's home run record.
Is that what the rivers and lakes that you're used to tell you? Because you gotta listen to the rivers and the lakes.
All right, touche, John, touche.
Okay, so
it's fine.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on all of it. If I think it's a niche community. If you are tired of the regular superhero grind and you want to see something different and go a completely different direction, because Marvel and DC will never go this direction because they're family friendly. This is just an IP that's like,
I don't know. Some of those new DC animations get pretty violent.
Yeah, they do.
Never to this, and
never to this. But they're kind of approaching that basically
Zack Snyder
adult
version
North American
of
anime type stuff.
John, as I've read up a few more things about Invincible, there's a lot more things coming on the pipeline. They ain't going to touch with the 10-foot pole. So yeah, they're going that direction. All right. So the caveat is, if you are already a hardcore fanboy and you are already looking for something different, something that clearly we've talked about it time and time again, animation is unique because it's cheaper. You can get all these fantastic voice actors to give their time.
Yeah,
really cool action sequences, because you can't do that. Like no way in The Boys, like coming up to juxtapose it with The Boys, is that there's a lot of stuff in Herogasm that's coming up that there's no way they're going to do it compared to what the comic book is. And even in The Boys,
they are.
Some they can't. There's not Caligula. Slow down. There's things that they can't do, and they things that they'll try to do and change. So the comics have free will because it's panels, and cartoons can do it because it's cartoons. They can do bigger set pieces. They can do this. Even Kirkman, even before, talking in interviews years ago about me doing Invincible as a TV show, he's like, it's got to be cartoon. You can't do it in just the worlds they go to and the superhero stuff. It would cost too much money, and he wouldn't be able to get his vision put together. Because if a Marvel show costs, rumors of $200 million to get 8 episodes of, or 160 to get 6 episodes of like Winter Soldier and the Falcon, it's like, oh, good God, how do you even do that? So if
But
you
Kirkman
are
just confirmed though, sorry, but Kirkman confirmed Rogan and Evan Goldberg, who are executive producers of this, they are currently working on a live action adaptation of this with Universal. So will it ever come to fruition? Like you're saying, Stu, who knows? But I mean, it's something in the works.
Yeah, it's maybe something they can walk, but again, it is, and now with this COVID world and costing and stuff like that, it's a very difficult thing, because we talked about in previous podcasts where there were a lot of Netflix shows that basically they were going to do the Magicians TV show, right? That we're talking about, and then they're like, yeah, no, we can't do it anymore. It's too much.
We're out.
We're out. So like, unless you can film it specifically just in Vancouver, or in a backdrop in Australia, or in a studio in London, like in Atlanta, you got 4 spots to film this stuff and you're done. Right. So you don't have much options right now. So you can't, and it's affected WandaVision and stuff too. So we didn't get as many cameos in that show because it was in peak pandemic when they were filming. So it is different. But yeah, let's see if Seth and Evan can do something. Good luck, because even their vision for Preacher didn't turn out the way it was supposed to be. So we never got a conclusion to that either, which started off really great and then it kind of tailed off. So I'd rather a cartoon, which I know will finish and give me a vision, as opposed to a TV show which could be pulled, a plug could be pulled at any point in time. So okay, so our panel today is definitely recommending that everyone watch at least episode 1 if you're inclined to, in that fanboy. And now we're going to talk fully spoilers in episode 2 and 3. This is where it really stretches its wings and really goes for a nice run. So Chris, and really your thoughts can be anywhere you want, but 2 and 3, talk us through your thoughts on the episodes and the I think it's called, the teen team. Is that what it's called?
Team.
Yeah.
I think they call it team or something.
Yeah.
Teen team. Yeah.
Team
maybe.
Team. So yeah, go for it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I think we like you said, Stu, it kind of really opens its wings now. You get the kind of the mood of the show, which is going to be violent, and I think it had a lot of jokes, good jokes. It kind of got funnier, way funnier than the first one. I like the bit about with the aliens who, is that episode 2 when the aliens keep coming to try to invade?
Yep.
They go back and then they try again. They go back and they try again.
Flaxens, rather.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. Really like a good comedy bit there. And then the same one with the scar in his face. A lot of heavy hitting guest stars, like you were saying, cameos, things like that. And then the introduction of the teen team and the getting more into Mark's high school life and all the different characters there, and not really harping on like the weird high school stuff, but him dealing with that. And I thought that was good. So and a couple things about the voice acting in that, I thought it was all good. Jason Mantzoukas, who I'm normally a huge fan of, Rafi from The League, one of my favorite characters ever. He'll always be Rafi to me, but he needs to take it back a little bit. It sounded like he was kind of a bit over the top, way over the top with his character.
He was 11. Yeah, I love Jason Mantzoukas, but he was 11.
JK needs to turn down a notch. Jason Mantzoukas needs to turn down like 10 notches.
And it didn't really match that character. To me, kind of that frantic kind of energy he was giving to it. He needed to be more of a kind of a suave, like douchebag kind of,
like Gambit, pretty much.
Yeah, like Gambit, who he's copying. Yeah. And then and Robot 2 was introduced, who's a great character, kind of like the scientist type guy, the guy figuring out all the stuff.
Vision.
Vision type character. A little lazy on the naming of him, Robot, but I thought that was good. But yeah, the comedy elements.
He's shouting out these calculations. I'm like, how are people supposed to hear this in the battle?
To be fair, it was also lazy to cast Zachary Quinto. It's like, you're just doing Spock. Like, what are you like?
You're doing the same character again.
Soft tone, talk like Spock. It's like
that Spock thing.
I was just waiting for it to say fascinating, and I'm like, oh, brutal. Come on, man. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I think that's good for now.
All right, John.
Chris touched on all the good points. Like Jason Mantzoukas definitely needs to dial it back a little bit. And I generally do like him and stuff, and listen to him on a lot of the podcasts and stuff like that. But he definitely needs to tone it back a little bit. That character is way, like, he's coming in at like, level like 1000 and everyone else is at like, you know, the 100 or whatever. He's just, I don't know if he's trying, like, maybe not for that character. But overall, like, I like Rob mentioned it before, the title card gimmick is absolutely hilarious. Like after on the 3rd episode, I kind of like figured out what was going on, and I was like, yeah, you know, and then they start talking, and then Invincible pops up, and instead of saying the word, like that is funny as hell. But once you get to episode 2 and they start introducing the kooky villains and they're doing different stuff, you actually get, if you are an animation fan and you watch One Punch Man or My Hero Academia, you get a lot of vibes of those particular shows now in here, even though I think this would predate. Would it predate Rob or post date? Like it's before, right? Look at Rob being a dirt.
What are you asking?
Before
John?
what? Before what?
Before what?
What are you talking about?
Invincible would predate those 2 properties, but it does have a lot of that feel to it.
Yeah.
Where you have like a kooky villain that comes in and does a thing. Especially Kristen mentioned the Seth Rogen one-eyed alien guy.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty funny where he's coming in, he's like, I'm here to eat Earth with a U or something like that. I'm here to test you guys. You guys are, he's like, we're Earth with an E, and he's like, oh shit, I really fucked up, you know, like that type of thing. Like that. That's where I think that's where like this show is gonna catch you. So kind of what Rob was touching on before. Like if you're not into animation, I don't know if it's gonna be able to catch you. But if you're into animation, and you're into that, you know, One Punch Man, My Hero Academia, that type of stuff, I think it's gonna hit because it's got the North American theming to it and the superhero-y stuff. I can't think of anything else I would mention. Walter Goggins as Cecil. I like that. Shane Vendrell, or Boyd Crowder, whatever you want to call him. I thought he was really good in that particular part. And then
he finally gets to do something different. He's not the smarmy bad guy. That's why I really like him. Like for once, he's not the bad guy. I'm like, Walter Goggins finally out. Every time I see him on the Unicorn, I think, when he's robbing a bank, like when is the heel turn? Like when is it? Do we discover that you have when
are you making a bomb?
Like when did we know? Like it's like those of you who don't know, the Unicorn is a comedy show where he plays a single father with 2 kids, and he's the unicorn. Like he's a wonderful dad that that women are trying to flock to. So I'm just waiting for him to like move like the statue and open a button. All of a sudden behind him are like weapons and grenades. Like I'm waiting for it to turn into like, he has to go on secret missions. Like I'm not used to just seeing him and Rob Corddry just talk about like romantic entanglements. Like I'm just waiting for him to be like, even Timothy Oliphant to show up and they're like, let me just solve this in the backyard, and they start fighting. Like I'm just waiting for something different to happen. So I'm glad that he's doing something new, because that's what animation allows you to do. Sorry, go ahead.
But overall, I definitely like the episodes 2 and 3 where it started to catch me. And definitely, I don't know if I feel like you need to kind of get warmed up to animation, especially when you're used to watching so many live action stuff. You're like, oh, okay, we're watching animation now. Things are going to be a little bit different. But I definitely got more into it with 2 and 3. I will question, however, when next week, if they only drop 1 episode next week, I will question if people are like, I think I might wait for a bunch of episodes to finish and then go to it, or if they're going to watch that 1 episode. So that'd be my only concern. But I think
you mentioned, John, it took episode 2 to hook you. When was it in episode 2? What was the moment that the light bulb turned on? You're like,
I want to say it was when those aliens came in. We saw the alien invasion, and Mark tries to take them on, and then he gets his ass kicked. And then the teen team shows up, and again, I'll mention the choreography, like the action is really it's pretty high level. I think like the thought they put into choreographing it. The one girl, the duplicate girl,
duplicate.
She's like fighting, and then like another one of her pops out and like elbow drops the guy on the ground, like all the little things like that. I thought those were very cleverly done, and I look forward to seeing more clever use of superhero powers.
Cool. Rob, your thoughts on 2 and 3?
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with my esteemed friends here. I actually quite liked Mantzoukas' portrayal, because I'll tell you why, is that it added a sense of humor to this that I think was really needed. Like, if any, there was very little to any humor.
He was very funny, but it was too Jason Mantzoukas. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the problem, though. But I think, though, if you watch Big Mouth on Netflix, which is a 20-minute comedy, from Nick Kroll, I love that show. It's hilarious. But he's doing he's doing Jason Mantzoukas. If you watch The League, which, you know, Chris is a big fan, I'm a huge fan of The League.
Yep.
Jason Mantzoukas. Like, if you're gonna get Jason Mantzoukas in your show, you want him to be Jason Mantzoukas, right?
Outside of the TikTok man.
Of course, from John Wick. So, which he had very little.
He is not Jason Mantzoukas in that one. That is
actually
is
almost
true
no
acting.
words.
Yes.
Yeah. So I listen. You're carrying a comedic performance, especially when you have that. And you had that group sex scene with the duplicates. I mean, to me, who else would you have to pull off that hilarious, like, oh no, like
maybe they need to change the animation of the character to match how crazy he's performing it, maybe then.
Well, so it's interesting you mentioned that, because I was saying to Stu is that they've actually done a lot of changes to the characters from the book.
Mm-hmm.
There's changes of race, there's changes of gender. When they make the new Guardians of the Globe, it's Shrinking Ray as a guy, but in this one it's a girl. I don't remember what they actually called her. Maybe they called her Shrinking Ray.
I think they still call her Shrinking Ray.
Yeah. Mark's girlfriend from high school, Amber, was Caucasian in the book, and now she's not. So there's a lot of, and even Rex Splode, who was Jason Mantzoukas, was not, you know, he was Caucasian in the book as well. So they've made a lot of changes, which I'm completely fine with. I think it adds something. Episode 2, you know, the fight with the Flaxons was okay. I thought it was, you know, not that big of a deal. It was all right. I mean, Omni-Man is in a coma, obviously. You know, you got to see Cecil. For me, episode 3 is where I really enjoyed it. I thought the funeral stuff, not the showy funeral, the funeral that was the private funeral where, you know, Adam Eve explains, like, that's for the world. This is for us. Nobody can know where these fallen heroes are buried. That was actually really cool. I actually, I liked when Amber goes to Mark's bedroom and he's got like these comics out and he pulls out the underwater welder. Jeff,
that was what Rob recommended a while back.
Yeah, and so they pulled that out. But the actual training, the montage of when they're trying, the Deadpool montage of trying to pick the new members of the Guardian of the Globe, I thought that was great, because then you got to see characters that come from the book that you were like excited for, like Monster Girl.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Her stuff. So for me, episode 3 was the best out of the 3. But again, John makes a very good point. Is this something on a week-to-week basis that you are going to want to watch? Does it have the hook of Falcon and Winter Soldier? Does it have the hook of The Boys? The Boys are the same thing. They released the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then it was week to week. Is it enough to want you, the viewer, to say, hey, every Friday when this drops, every Saturday morning, I'm going to watch this? That, I think, is a really big question, and I think it's going to be very tough to answer based on these 3 episodes. I suspect hardcore people, are going to watch it week to week. I suspect, though, the majority of those who have watched it will probably, it's only 8 episodes. It ends April 30th, I think. So they would probably just wait for it to be put together and just kind of plow through it if they want.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. I think they've done an excellent job in casting in terms of doing what the faux pas was 2 years ago, when it didn't even matter. You could have a person of any ethnicity play anyone on a cartoon, and it didn't matter if they were whatever color or background or ethnicity. But this show, it's like when you talked about how they changed Shrinking Ray and they changed the
Amber.
Green Ghost, that they reflected that in the casting. So when they had a person of color be the voice, it wasn't a situation where when they did change it, they actually, duplicate it. It's played by an Asian person. Like, Darkwing is played by Lenny James, who's, those of you who watched, the show with Skeet Ulrich, I love him in that show, Jericho. So like know him from that and all the other British stuff that he does. So they've done a really good job in diversifying their cast and adding actors in that. Special shout out to my favorite human being voice actor of all time.
You gonna say Clancy Brown?
100% Clancy Brown.
But
As Damien,
did he voice two? Did he also
he does
voice
the one.
Monster from the Monster Girl? Because it sounded like they kind of used his voice for Monster from Monster Girl as well.
I'm not sure, but Damien Darkblood, I love this Hellboy / detective. Like, I love, like, I didn't read the comic, so I love this idea that he's like, his soul, he has to go, and even Omni-Man's like, I don't even know, I didn't like, Omni-Man's kind of like, I don't think I could take this guy. Like, if he's just, like, he can't probably kill him. So it's very specific in this universe that, you know, that Damien Blood was just like, all the feeds were cut off, and he's trying to figure out the murder, and he's trying to redeem his soul from hell, and even that dialogue he's having, just again exposition of like when he's talking with Sandra Oh's character, and is like, I'm just here just to, you know, save my soul and help people along the way. I'm like, bravo. Like, this is just like a ridiculous concept, and Omni-Man just can't kill him, because if he does, he'll just come back alive anyways, because we go to hell and come back, and it's like, oh, it's Omni-Man. Mm-hmm. So he has to kill people that, you know, that you know, maybe can't, you know, come back to life quickly. But, you know, the spoilers ahead. But yeah, no, I thought he was it was great, and all the voice actors were fun, and Chris Demotopoulos as well. It's such a small little thing, him being there, but like, every time I hear his voice, I just laugh. I'm like, yeah, Toronto's own. Another Toronto actor if you watched him from Silicon Valley and all the other stuff he's done, like, he's just great.
But then talk about like Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien.
Yes.
Really, like, you're talking about how you guys wanted Mantzoukas to dial it back. Man, Seth Rogen was not Seth Rogen in that, you know? Like, he seemed... Like, obviously they kind of auto-tuned his voice a little bit, but he did not. He was dialing himself back, as a character.
But I think that's...
Alien. So I was surprised, which I'm go with,
Yeah, I think that character is kind of like, you know, as Kirkman has said, that's his favorite character, and he will never die. So like, he loves him so much. He's like, my favorite character. He'll never die. Like, I've never seen Kirkman. He's willing to kill everybody. And when Kirkman's like, no, I can't kill him. I can't kill Alan the Alien. Like, he's the best. And like, and if those are looking forward in the future, like, they've tried to kill him and he refuses to die. Yeah. So he is one of those characters that's going to be super fun to see in the future. And you're right, Rob. Seth Rogen. No, he didn't go full Seth Rogen laugh. So
you can tell
like,
him though.
You know, you knew it was Seth Rogen, but I think Seth Rogen also kind of picked the part where he's like, oh, this will be the funnest part to be in. I'm going to be this guy. So it is fun. And to your point, John, it is fun that this coalition of planets, he's like, we're testing you. And he's like, what? And it's like, wait a second. And then I'm like, Omni-Man, you fought this guy how many times, and you never had that conversation about why? I was like,
just beat him up and moved on. Yeah,
beat the shit out of him, and then you basically.
I think that's covered in the comic where he's like, yeah, I talked to him, and it was a big mix up.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're gonna come back to that.
But his dad is like, oh, don't worry about it. I've dealt with him all the time. It's like, well, if you dealt with him all the time, shouldn't you solve? Like, wouldn't you know the answer? So it's like, that line threw me off. I'm like, wait, you've established you had a conversation, and you just beat the crap out of the guy. Why would he test
you? Are you using your timeout? Are you using your timeout?
He's coming back. I was like, yeah, there was a lot of fun things where like I didn't know, like, or I couldn't remember or whatever. I was like, oh, that's fun. That's neat. So I started, after watching, I started reading the comics to like get myself back into it. I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of see where things are going. But I didn't know much going into it. But
So Stu, will you watch? So like Friday. We're 5 days away. Will you watch episode 4?
No.
Okay.
No. I think to your point, I'll wait till it's all
gonna
done,
watch Winter Soldier.
And I'll go through it. I love, like, out of everyone in the world, I love animation more than anyone else. I'll watch any animation show. It's my jam. I think there's so much more you can do, and but I'm so spoiled when it comes to, like, when I watch anime now, it's all at once. Like, I don't wait for something. Like, back in the day, like, I would wait for someone to encode it in English. Like, I'd wait for like this cabal of people to translate something and be like, oh, okay, wait. Oh, FLCL, like, I gotta wait a week and
back
someone will
day,
translate it.
Subs.
It's a fan sub. I'm like, but now it's like, oh man, this all come. I'm like, wow, there's so much other stuff I can catch up on. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till it's all done. to get 3 episodes through was a gift, and I think that's Amazon style to get you into it. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't think I'm gonna continue to go back. It's not like Winter Soldier where I left every episode going, oh my god, like I cannot wait for the next.
Yeah, you
thing.
hit that replay button, that start over button. You just hit that start over button, and you watch
like again,
it
like to John's point, when Rob, I was like, Rob, I'm gonna watch it again. I've watched it 3 times already. That episode I watched 3 times. Like I'm just sitting there giggling to myself. Episode 2, Winter Soldier, like everything about it was great. Like I love all of it. Like it was super fun, and the music, the bobbing, like everything was great. Like I watched the first episode of Invincible. I'm like, and I'm good. Like honestly, I don't know if I ever go back to it again. It's like I think all your criticisms are right. The first part was just vanilla bland, like it's a hero arc, and the end is ultra violent. And I'm like, I get it, but I never want to go back to that scene where he's just like ripping people's faces off. I'm like, I'm good. So I think this is a very difficult show to go back and watch again. What do you think, Rob? Are you going to? And I'll go around the panel again, but
so here's where I'm thinking, do I let it build up and just kind of binge watch it through? And I almost have a fear that I'll let it build up, I'll watch 1 episode, and then I won't kind of go back to it, because so far there's nothing that's hooking me to keep watching successive episodes together. So I almost kind of feel like I'm gonna have to watch it week to week, because I don't think so far, I don't think it has enough for me to be like, oh, I can't wait to have all 5 the remaining 5 or 6 episodes, and I'm just going to plow through 6 hours of it. That seems daunting to me based on what I've seen these first 3. I like it, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think for me it's going to be able, that last week in April, I don't see myself sitting down there for 6 hours and binge watching this. Whereas I would sit down and binge watch the full season of Falcon and Winter Soldier, within a day, right? So I think for me, I'm going to have to watch it week to week. It won't be a Friday, it'll probably be like a Saturday afternoon or whatever. But that's will likely be how I'm going to have to watch it, because otherwise, I think I'll just let it pass.
Chris, are you going to watch it?
Myself, I'm going to watch it, because I'm a fan. But I think for the general, I think you guys are right. It's a little niche. It's a property no one's really too keen on. It's not something you're making appointment TV for. No one's staying up till 12 a.m. to watch this one. I think what's going to happen is it's going to run its course. All the episodes are going to come out, and then people are going to recommend it as a whole to you. They're going to be like, oh, watch this entire season. It's a good animation that kind of goes off the beaten path and is funny and violent and quirky in a way that is not everything else is. But it's something that you're gonna have to wait till it's done. I don't think anyone's watching it week to week, like you said. Well, fans maybe, but yeah, you guys are probably right in that sense.
Like I look at, and before I jump to John, like I often think about the first 2 or 3 episodes of Young Justice. And I just look at how much they do with Nightwing and with all the secondary characters of like Aqualad and like the Flash and all that stuff, and like they're known properties. But that first episode where they're just pitched for Young Justice, where they're like, today's the day where we join the Justice League, like there's a whole build up to it, and was like really awesome. And then when Speedy was like, this is all a facade, this is all bullshit, like this isn't even the real place, like they have a space station, and like and they're like, then when you go through that, you're like, the jaw drops, like, oh, that's what. So then when they do the whole thing,
I feel like Young Justice didn't really catch fire till later though. Like
basically nothing.
It really caught fire, and it became must watch.
And first, they do so much with no, like, it's kind of like I quote a lot about Ren and Stimpy. The best stuff for Ren and Stimpy is when they couldn't go all out and use F words and go to it. Like they have to be really smart to do stuff and like get you there. And then when you watch, the new iteration where they were able to just say the F word, it just like, well, this is boring. Like I don't need him to say the F word 10 times in a row. Like I liked it when they had to be subversive on network and come up with new things, and I felt like that's what Young Justice was doing. It's like Firefly, adding the gravitas of like what this means and loss and everything else.
Yeah.
And then this is like, full out. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but do I really need to see this? Like you can just, fade to black and they're all dead. Like I don't need you to like show that you ripped the person in half. But yeah, I guess it's just at different tones. But yeah, I've gone back to watch Young Justice several times, and I really don't know if I'm going to watch this after season 1. I'm just like, whoo. And I think episode 2 is probably the most rewatchable in terms of, like you said before, just the alien count, and Jonathan Hinshu is the voice of the alien overlord, and that's great. And just the introduction of those characters, even Duplicate when she's fighting, and her other duplicates are basically sliced in half, and you see the organs pop out. I'm like, oh, okay. Like you just have a hole in her, and she's dead. Like, think about all the bodies they have to clean up after her. After that, did they just disintegrate? Are they just there? Like, it wasn't clear to me how this.
It's not clear.
This happens, but yeah, like I thought that was really well done. But other than that, I'm like, meh. We'll see what happens. Especially at the end when Omni-Man just goes buck, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going through this portal, and that montage of him just decimating a civilization and comes back with a beard. It's like, okay, I'm cool, I'm back. I'm like, whoa, what? Just,
I'm good. I'm gonna take a shower.
Yeah, like I'm taking a shower. I'm like, holy cow, like just messing with people. It was great. John, are you gonna watch more after this?
I'm not gonna make a weekly appointment because and it's mainly because it's competition. The Falcon and Winter Soldier is just so good that over watching Falcon and Winter Soldier and then Invincible, I'm probably gonna rather watch Falcon and Winter Soldier twice. But I think I will watch it. Yeah, I think I will watch it because I only followed Invincible to a certain point, so I do want to see where that storyline goes. And this seems like it's running at a much more condensed pace, so I will be able to see the ending of that, and then I'll be able to go and read the comic and see it all fleshed out and things like that. So I almost feel like it would be cool if you could reverse like our situation, whereas you watch this animation first, all these new things pop up at you, and then you get to read the book and you get to see how much all this extra story exploration, more depth into the other characters and stuff like that. So yeah, weekly appointment. No. Am I going to finish it? I think I definitely am.
Yeah, I think we all agree we're going to finish it just because the show is something different and unique. Representation of different ethnic people, minorities, and stuff. Like, again, even all the title cards you see on Amazon where it's like Omni-Man flying in the background and you see Invincible on the ground, most people will be like, oh, okay, like maybe he's helping. It's like not knowing what's happening. You're like, and then you're like, oh, snap, that title card has
a good
like
guy on the man
triple meaning. You're like, oh, it's like, okay, he's failing and his dad's there to help. It's like, oh no, this is not what that's about. That, if you know what it is at the end, you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be just
I feel very much like Goldilocks though, in that in WandaVision we wanted more than the half hour, the 22 minutes they gave us. And yet in this, you're comparing it to Justice League, which was a lot of fun. It was Young Justice, which was fun. It was palatable, but those were 30-minute episodes. And this is where I think one of the other issues. This is like, an hour, right? Like it's an hour of animation, and if you it's hard to sit there for an hour and watching this because it feels like an hour. It doesn't fly by.
No,
so that's the other thing about it, right? Like it's almost like I wonder what it would have been like if they did like half-hour episodes, and again, it makes me feel like Goldilocks because I'm never too happy with this, but I want this, and then when I get the hour, it's like, oh, it should be more of a half hour.
Are you happy with Winter Soldier then? Is that
I am.
I am. The only one.
Well, we mentioned it last week when we talked about Winter Soldier, is that's where it was like, it was like Lost. I got my 42 minutes or 48 minutes, and I was like, I'm full. I could still go for a little bit of dessert, but I'll hold off till next week, right? Like that's how I.
There's always room for Jell-O.
There's always no more Bill Cosby impressions. All right. So no, but that's again one of the issues with this show. It's long. It's an hour. And so like Chris is talking about, something to recommend. He would watch it and this and that. I'm thinking I'm right with Chris, but I recommended The Boys. I'm like, guys, you have to watch The Boys. Like I'm telling my boss, who's like a 50-something-year-old woman, I'm like, you have to watch The Boys. Right. And so she's like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Why would you do that to her?
Because sometimes I like fucking around management. I don't know. But I could never recommend this. And people say like, hey, what's a good show I have? I got 6 hours in a weekend. I'd be like, argh. So anyways, that's
not Invincible. Not Invincible. Unless Rob starts off with, don't go breaking waterfalls, and then that's
listen to the Guardians of the Globe as they fall down.
Yeah. It's just we're gonna this waterfall thing we're gonna keep on dropping up fun game going forward. I'm gonna see if how many of us can integrate lyrics from that song into as many podcasts as we can going forward. So outside of the titular "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls," how else can we add lyrics from that? John, the challenge is the gauntlet has been dropped. I'd like you to going forward, just like in the middle of conversation. It's Little Precious says natural obstacles for temptation. And that's an actual line from the song. And then it's like, and then Invincible really does a good job of talking about temptation. This is like the balance of power and what it means to be a superhero. So I'm looking forward to you to accept the challenge and see how you can integrate that stuff going forward. So this has been an enlightening, fantastic podcast. So then for the three of you who have read way more ahead of me, I'm trying to keep on pace to see where I'm at. Where do you think this is going to end off on? Because it's going fast. Like, where do you think this is going to end? Because already at episode 3, we're already at a decent pace. Like, we know the foreshadowing of the father-son, like the battle is going to ensue, but how is that going to be where they're going to end the series? Or like,
do we know how many episodes total?
Yeah, there's 8 in total. Right? So it's 5 more weeks.
Oh, so yeah, I don't know if they're going to get.
There's not much left. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna get to the point where Omni-Man takes off, or where he like disappears. But with only 5 more episodes to go, I don't know if they can. I don't know if they're gonna get to that point. And then there even is like I don't remember if Invincible changes his costume by that point, which is booster juice, yo.
So yeah, what do you think, John? Are they gonna get like where do you think they're gonna end off?
I think maybe at this accelerated pace, I think maybe they'll get to the point where they resolve this first Omni-Man arc, especially since they showed him going into the other planet and demolishing it with the odd music choice. But anyways, demolishing that entire world. Yeah, it was like the soundtrack was like all SoundCloud music, which is fine. You can't afford big music.
What are you talking about? They actually there's a lot of those songs.
Yeah.
Or licensed music.
Yeah, Amazon has money to burn.
Yeah.
Amazon has their
it has Amazon music
service. Yeah.
I'll have to look at it again. Yeah, I was like, I don't quite know the song, but I follow a completely different genre.
John is too. Let's be fair. John's too busy listening to Baby Shark to know anything else right now. So I don't think you're really telling me how music is operating right now, because you're at the Baby Shark / kindergarten / like little kid girl songs. So I don't think you can tell me about as Rob is Coley, his best friend, Mr. Junkie, and the music that he listens to, dubstep. That's what Rob is all about. So maybe
Rob's all Tool all the time.
Either it's 90s R&B or dubstep. It's clearly Rob's jam. I'd like to ask Chris where his music intentions are. Whereabouts are you?
John is a much more recent music taste than me. I'm only listening to like when you said 90s R&B and
oh God, you're still there too.
he's on the rewind playlist.
I'm the guy who's like, songs on the radio these days are
no, you turn to that guy. Oh no. So
John's actually always recommending newer stuff to me, and I'm like,
oh no. Yeah. Oh, you're into John's still listening to Mariah. Are you in Mariah's Casey JoJo, like Robin? Are you still in that wheelhouse of 90s R&B? Where are you listening to Boyz II Men?
I guess that kind of stuff, yeah. Boyz II Men, yeah.
Oh boy, Chris. We got to get you out there, buddy. We got to get you out there.
Chris is unwrapping his new copy of 98 Degrees after
this.
Yeah.
98 Degrees.
Oh, no. He's still listening to Much Dance Mix. That's
Hosted by Maestro.
It's so easy. They take all the best songs and put them on.
Chris is like,
Monica Dior, Electric Circus.
Yeah, Chris is like, oh man, R.I.P. LaBouche. How do I get my jam on?
LaBouche.
How to be my lover? These are things that Chris.
All right.
For all the young people are like, what are you guys talking about? Yeah. And also non-Canadians are like, what are you talking about? LaBouche? I was like, you guys are missing out. Go Be My Lover, LaBouche. Google that after you'll hear this on YouTube, and you have
a bass rabbit hole.
Bass is bass. They only got one song. No, you got to go Sky. Some Kind of Wonderful. That's the jam. Or there we go. As we go through it. And then now all the stuff with Be My Sunshine with Len. Let's not forget that one too, with all the commercials. Okay. Rob,
Yeah. So yeah, you were sorry. You gonna ask me where do I think this is going?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So actually, so if you have never read the comics and you want to be completely not spoiled, just you can watch us, but just mute your computer or your TV.
And give them the signal to come back. What's the signal?
I will. So my signal will come back and be like.
yeah.
Okay.
Great. Fantastic.
Right?
But for the audio listeners at home, you're screwed. So
that's right. So for spoiler and go. Okay, so actually I think they're going to get to the showdown between Mark and his father really soon, because I saw when I was doing a little bit on research on that, they've already cast his brother Oliver, who comes from another planet. Omni-Man has another child. He sires with another alien race, and they've already cast that individual for season 1. So
Omni-Man stepping out.
Right. So I suspect that it's not that they're flying through the story. It's very disjointed. Their timeline is it's been rewritten how they're doing things for the show as opposed to the comic, which I'm fine with. That's fine. But I suspect what will happen is that it will end with Omni-Man coming back. His son Oliver, Mark's brother, will already be here. His mom will have to be forced to raise Oliver, and Omni-Man will return to Earth after having decimated everybody and lost everybody's trust. And that's kind of, I suspect how season 1 will end is that he returns and he's like, I'm sorry. And then that will be it. So come on back. Come back. It's okay. We're done. So that's how I think it's going to end.
As we know, the voice of Oliver.
Oh wait, no spoilers. So go away.
No. You don't know who Oliver is. The voice. The voice guy. Of course, as people will know him from his time as Chomper from the last Land Before Time television show. So that's major credit, as well as The Purge. So Daddy Daycare. So these are the acting chops you get when you're a young man. So these are things. Okay, so my question to you guys next is, moving fast, what's your guess at how many seasons this thing's gonna get? Like, this is season 1.
6 seasons in the movie.
Is it really 6 seasons in the movie? Good one. How many seasons do you think this is gonna go for, Chris?
I have no basis for this. Probably 3. I'm not sure anything other than that. I think they're gonna get a 2 for sure. And then I guess 3rd maybe to wrap it up in a sense. That I don't see it going further than that. But I have like I said, I forget most of the comic that I read back in the day, so I'm not sure what storylines they could get into after these ones. But I would say 3. Yeah.
So my question to you, Chris, is it the story is forgettable, as in like, oh, you read it and it didn't resonate with you? Because can you remember other things, or you just forget because you're, that's your person? Like,
yeah, I'm old, man. But no, it was a while ago I read it, and I think I only read the first arc. I don't know if I read anything after that. The first trade paperback.
I don't know what issue it ended on, Rob. Do you have a number there? 100 and something, or
did it have 100? Okay, I definitely read like
quite a ways. Yeah, you're definitely.
I'm like less than 20 into the.
Yeah, if you can see Rob's behind him. He's got
144.
Yeah. So it went almost. Yeah, it went almost to 150. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of road that Chris Ho probably was not.
But it's like Fast and Furious. This runway goes on forever, so Chris is fine. He doesn't have to worry about it. John, how many seasons do you think this is going for, or do you think it's going to make it to the end? As well, because
no, I think they're probably going to aim for it to be a little more conservative, because even some of the most hottest animated shows and things like that only last 2-3 seasons max. So I think 3 might actually be kind of ambitious. So it might only get 2 seasons to take care of this whole arc or something like that. So that I would guess at 2, and I think they would probably aim for 2. I don't think they're going to be ambitious and think 6 seasons is going to happen.
Interesting. Rob?
Yeah.
No, I think the opposite. Amazon will announce whether season 2 is a go or not pretty soon. I suspect that they already know in the background that it's ready to go. It shouldn't take much for them to animate. I mean, they've already, for sure they've been working on it.
Yeah.
So we're getting season 2. Will we get more than that? Yeah. I suspect this goes 4 to 5, to be honest with you. I don't think it costs a lot to produce and to make. Amazon's not shy about canceling something if it's not doing well. So, so yeah, I think you're looking at 4 to 5 to seasons. Maybe they cut down the episodes.
But what was the last animated thing that went to like 4 or 5 seasons that we know of? Like Clone Wars? Did that go to 6 or 7?
Yeah, it did. And then
how long was Young Justice? Isn't Young Justice technically 3 or 4?
And it got canceled. Yeah.
But it's back, right?
It's back.
So it's back. I mean, well, okay, but then you can go Simpsons 26 seasons or 30 something seasons.
Yeah,
you
I
go
can't
compare
Family
anything to
Guy.
Simpsons.
No, but you go Family
GTFO.
Guy. You go but you go even Big Mouth is on season 4, I think, right now. So
I feel like that's a completely different type of show, though.
But John,
Sure,
let's think about
comedy
this.
things.
In terms of the pandemic, you don't have to pay for PPE. You don't have to have special insurance to film. You just get someone in a room. You record their voice.
They mail them.
They
can mail them a recording booth.
Yes,
you can
100%.
on Amazon.
It is
You
cheap.
get mailed
On Amazon. It is cheaper to set up your own recording booth at home and to do it, and to film the show with animators doing digital stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Than it is to do one episode of any show right now during COVID. And even
but there's
after
promotion
COVID,
and all kinds of things tied to that too.
insurance premiums are going to be insane just to like pay for people, because if one person gets sick, then the whole crew is down. So animation is I think it's to Rob's point, it could go way longer because it's cheap.
it'll be 6 seasons in the Seth Rogen movie. So 6 seasons in the movie. There you go.
Live action Seth Rogen. Yeah.
right.
6 seasons and a thing. Okay, so I want to ask you one thing, because we've talked about things we like. What's the thing that you dislike the most about this show so far, Chris?
Dislike. Oh boy.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of good things, but I want to know what's the thing you dislike the most.
I didn't really think about that. You come back to me.
maybe the
I got
maybe the high
nothing.
school
I runs in the
angst.
family.
You have to say I got nothing, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay, I got nothing.
John.
I think the only thing that's kind of weird was the whole like leaving the character in his room and then coming back and she's like cool with it suddenly. Like those type of teenage hiding your. Okay. Well, anyways, that's my answer. Those kind of like teenage hiding your identity type things is kind of boring to me now.
Rob?
The length of time, the length of each episode, for me.
They're cramming so much in there.
It was just too. It's just too long. It's not easily palatable, right? Like, some people are going to want to watch this Friday night after Falcon and Soldier and continue eating that, bag of cheesies. Some people might want to watch it Saturday morning with a coffee, right, before they start their day. An hour is a lot to ask for an animated show. So for me, I'm just gonna say the worst part of it was the length of time. An hour an episode's a lot.
This is what our
that's
fear
right on.
is, where they give you way too much. Like I think it's like, before we're ripping on the Mandalorian, it's like it's too short. We want more. And this is what if the Mandalorian was 40, 8 minutes, and you're just like, oh my god, just finish it, just finish it.
Yep.
So it never leaves you. It never leaves me wanting more. Like I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Chris, your thoughts? Anything you dislike, or do you want to just?
I already kind of covered the Jason Mantuka stuff thing, and then Steve Yuen, I guess, I think he maybe later in the seasons he'll have a little more oomph to his voice and a little more gravitas, I guess. Yeah.
I think to that point, it's the character's meek because that's what he is in the beginning. And I think as he gets more comfortable, he'll have that, as John Walker does. He'll be like, oh, I'm Captain America. Like that voice will come. It just, he just has to, fight a bit more, because I think he's just too like, again, if you're trying to make your dad proud, who's the greatest, strongest superhero on the planet, I don't know how much you can actually do. You're just kind of always in the shadow.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Okay. So as we're wrapping this up, I want to go to John. Typically, we'll rotate through the I have spoken portion with John. John, what are you recommending for the people at this standpoint to pick up or to grab at this moment in time?
Yeah, so since we're talking about Invincible, why not grab Invincible Volume 1 on hardcover, or Super Duper Mamma Gemma Omnibus that Rob has, or they have the thinner trade paperbacks, which are like a single story arc. So you could probably grab the first 2 trades, and you wouldn't be too. You can kind of see, like Rob's saying, the difference between these episodes, and it's a solid book. I think it's one of Kirkman's best works.
And yeah, I think it's interesting that, as if Andre was here talking about it, and he mentioned before in the other conversation that the numbers for sales of the show the comic has never reflected, and like how popular The Walking Dead is, or any other.
Yeah, it's always been a niche book. Even Walking Dead in the single issue format definitely was a little bit more of a niche book. So it didn't catch fire until the trades started coming out, and we would sell like giant stacks of the collections and stuff when the show caught fire. So hopefully now that the show's out, people will go to the trade paperbacks and pick something up. So that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, hopefully people will check it out. I again, my prejudice and stuff, like my personal thing about like DC and Marvel, like I just know them, and for me it was always hard. So hopefully people can go through that hurdle and not be as, let's see, stuck up as I am, where I'm like, I only want to read Marvel, DC stuff, a few Image stuff, but I don't want superheroes. I want different things. Like Robin, the underwater welder is if I'm going to read something different, that's what I want to read. I don't want to read,
Science Dog.
I like, East meets West. I want to read something different. I want to whatever, something different, and I don't need superheroes, because there are 2 massive companies that do superheroes better than pretty much everyone else, and I don't need graphic violence or nudity to get me to where I need to go when it comes to comics. So, and that seems to be where the show is heading. So for those who like it, huzzah, go for it. All right, John. So as we wrapping this up, where can people find more of you on the interwebs and in the desert of the real?
Yeah. So Heroes World Online, you'll find us basically online, like the name states. So the website is up and running. We're putting stuff every day almost. We're trying to put something new on there. We've got the new pre-order for the new Batman Fortnite book on there. So you can choose any of the 3 covers, or you can go nuts and order all 3, and you can pick in-store pickup. So make sure that's all set aside for you. On the Facebook, Instagram, the same tag, Heroes World Online. Like and subscribe to the YouTube. Leave us a comment. Give us a review on Apple iTunes under Heroes World Podcast if you're listening to the audio. And in the desert of the real, we are located in Markham on 8601 Warden Avenue, directly in the northeast corner of Warden and Highway 7. Big plaza there. The Best Buy just opened in there. We've got Felix and Norton right next to us. So if you want some desserts, everyone's big into desserts during this pandemic. And they've got other things like a Shoppers Drug Mart, No Frills, all that kind of stuff in there. So you can find us there.
Isn't it Canada Computers?
Canada Computers. Sorry. Yeah. They use the same blue sign.
Okay.
Canada Computers. So you can build your computer.
I was gonna call him out, but I didn't want to like be rude about it. But since you're his brother, have at him, Chris.
Well, I just wanted to make sure people are looking for a Best Buy, and
I don't know. I got excited. I was like, "Oh, is it Best Buy there?"
It used to be a Future Shop.
Yes.
They painted everything blue. We thought it was a Best Buy, and then Canada Computers moved from down the street over to our plaza.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh boy.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I guess what? There's the retail apocalypse is upon us. Everything is either emptying or moving. So we're going to see many changes soon, as those who have been to First Marketplace has seen the Golf Town / Boucher / whatever closed down, and then all of a sudden the Michaels closed down and Pier 1. So things are upon us. So support local, support your stores.
It's a giant Japanese dollar
everything is
store.
disappearing. Everything is going. So if you can, support your stores locally, or like and subscribe and all those things. Get us your thoughts on Invincible. Let me know I'm wrong with my hot takes about it, or let me know if you love TLC as much as I do. So here we go. Because we're not going to talk about Scrubs, but that'll be the next thing as we get Rob to start. Do you know anything about Scrubs?
I know that I don't want them.
Oh, fantastic. What a way to hang a cap. Chris, where can they people find you on the interwebs and on things, or are you silent?
Basically here, Heroes World Psychic Podcast with John and Rob, reacting to things, and
we have the exclusive. Yeah, he's always on deck. I know I can call my brother and bother him.
Yeah, I got nothing to do.
Impromptu reactions.
Yep. Awesome. Rob, See?
Well, when
Rob?
I'm not taking down waterfalls, I'm
breaking when you're not breaking
take 'em
waterfalls.
down with my elbows.
Yep.
You can find John and I every Monday night live, 8:00 on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We do the Heroes World Psychic Show, which Chris just mentioned. And this week we are resuming our 80s sci-fi bracket. We are actually narrowing it down. We're coming to the end of the overall 80s decades of action movies and sci-fi movies. So tune in live with us 8:00 Eastern on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. I will say that YouTube is generally where we get a lot of the back and forth comments with those who are watching. So if you've never watched it before, you know, what else are you going to do on a Monday night? Join us. And if you have, thanks for joining, and don't hesitate to comment and get in on the fun. So you can find us there.
Awesome. As we wrap up, thank you everyone for watching, listening, supporting. Hopefully we will see you all in the next week as we go back to the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
As you carry on your week and
Turn.
you don't go breaking waterfalls and you listen to the rivers and lakes that you're used to, because it's going to be Rob's way or nothing at all, because he likes to compare things to Goldilocks all the time.
Wow.
Our new Sidekicks theme song.
Yep.
It'll be me and Rob going like this.
Yep.
Are we giving Heimlich maneuvers? What are you doing?
that was the
John,
dance that they
I
did.
want you to, when Rob says,
Almost like
I don't go breaking waterfalls, I want you to end it with "listen to me." That's another line from that song. Just listen to me, and then that's great. It's a nice rhythm and cadence to it, and it'll continue on. And gosh, thank you all for the show. It's great. It's a great experience. Thank you, Chris, for joining us. Absolute pleasure.
Thanks,
as
Chris.
always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
guys.
you,
This is great.
everyone. Enjoy, and the goofiness will ensue the following week. And watch the Sidekick show tomorrow, because again, it will continue on. Goofiness ensues. Be well, be safe. See you all later. Oh, John,
Whoa.
look, boom,
right.
out the door.
That's it. That's how
See you
you
later,
end the
guys.
podcast.
Bye. That's it.